Hari Om, everyone.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Okay, let's
Hari
begin.
Om.
Hari Om. Let's begin. Om. 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 Sahana vavatu, Sahano bhunaktu, Sahaviryan karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavitwaram Sadgurum Brahmavitwaram Hari Om. Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Trika Tadrishyam Triktumanasam Drishyadhivrittaya Sakshi Drige Vanatu Drishyate. So last week we completed the topic of Maya as per this text, and we culminated with a lot of discussions and interesting questions and exploration of that topic of Maya. But now that this topic of Maya for this text has been completed, there's one point that we should have concluded from this elaborate discussion on Maya, and that is that Maya, Tatkaryam, Maya, that delusive power, Tatkaryam, and its effects, how it expresses as avarana, mala, vikshepas, those projections, impurities, illusions, and distractions of Maya. These can only have an effect when mind intellect complex has been deluded by that Maya. If my mind can sit udasina vadasinam, as Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, above and unenthralled by that Maya, gunatita, as though above all of them, transcending the play of the gunas, as merely the sakshi, extracting the vision of the substratum out from these superimpositions, then that mind intellect complex can actually live in a meditative state of samadhi. Sampragnata Samadhi means with eyes open, and while transacting, I hold on to the substratum. The superimposition has now lost its effect. This is the disciplined mind of the Jnani, where mind mastery now means Maya mastery. But how do we accomplish this mind mastery? Change the vision. Means right here, change the vision, not the view. So, what's the correct vision now that can bring this mind mastery, this Maya mastery? So, let's look at it logically. In every object that I transact within this world, there's me and there's the object. Object meaning that place, person, circumstance, whatever it may be, possession. So, there are these two aspects, there is myself and there is the object. Within me, there are two aspects to be considered, Jara aspect and Chaitanya aspect. Means within me there is this mind-intellect complex, which is anatma. So that's the insentient aspect. And there's also the awareness or the consciousness that enlivens the ability to know anything. So this sentient and insentient aspect comes together to form me. And the object with which I'm transacting also has this atma and anatma aspect within it. Anatma belongs to the world. So it's the physical, the insentient aspect of the object. And then the Atma aspect is that Brahman, which is the substratum that brings existence to that thing so that it exists and it is known. Now, in this interaction of me and objects within this world, now this restless mind will wander everywhere. But wherever mind goes, I, as awareness, am present. There is nowhere that that mind can go where I, consciousness, am not. Sahaja tadatmya. That naturally I will always be that conscious factor there. And so the me transacting becomes the sentience of I plus the insentient mind intellect equipment. Plus, the object that I'm transacting with also has these two aspects, the Brahman Satchidananda substratum, sentience, as well as the Jada insentient aspect in the form of name and form. So it means that everything that I transact with will have both sentient and insentient factors inlaid naturally within them. Sahaja, naturally it's there. Mind mastery is in training that mind to recognize the reality in every object that that mind wanders to, and let that Atma aspect, which is my substratum, commune with that Brahman aspect, which is giving existence to that object, person, or circumstance. So the sentiency within me as though goes out and communes with the sentiency within that object or person or circumstance itself. And in this way, when that sentiency recognizes the Brahman, the substratum of the other thing, then I can transact at that level with the vision at that level. And so the superimpositions that come out of that can be negated. In this way, I can transact above the level of Maya. This is how that mind mastery in creating that vision of the substratum can lead to mastery of Maya itself. So now that we've completed this topic of Maya, this sort of thinking we have to be able to separate out. See, in reality, when we look at all objects which we transact with, all situations and circumstances of transaction, there's nothing there truly apart from the substratum. This is the vision. In Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter, there Udalaka Muni says to his son Shvetaketu, he says, Yatha somya ekena mritpindena sarvam mrinmayam vijnatam syat. Vacharambanam vikaro namadheyam mrittike ityeva satyam. What he says there in that 6th chapter of Chandogya, he says, O Somya, O my dear boy, just as in knowing that clod of clay, mritpindena, that mass of clay, all things made of clay now, I can easily recognize what they are. Sarvam mrinmayam vijnatam syat. Just so, by keeping my vision on the substratum, all of the jada, the insentient superimpositions which arose out of it, can now become easily recognized and can no longer delude you. Why? Because now I know the truth of their nature. Which Udalaka Muniji says there, Vak Arambhanam, Vikaro Namadheyam. They are merely modifications, a play of words, Vak Arambhanam. There's no substance to a mere name, Vikaro Namadheyam. When mind comes to see and hold to this truth that a name is just a word, it doesn't affect the substance of what is actually there. And when I can recognize this truth of the substratum, then I understand mrittike teva satyam. That clay alone is the truth. That clay alone is only what's really there, not the name and form, not nama rupa, no matter how dazzling or distracting it may be. Vak arambanam, a word, a name, has no substance. So why am I attaching so much reality to it? To any or all of this, which is around me, it is all just names and forms, the superimposition upon the substratum. Why have I given so much utility value in my life to that? Think. It is vak arambanam. It's only a mixture of words, of sounds itself. So separating out name and form from Satchidananda, see the unreality of one and contemplate on the reality of the other. This is called Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. And that Viveka, Samarthya, that ability sharpens through robust mananam, is what will deliver me the abidance in that truth. And that nididhyasanam, on the strength of reflecting and abiding, that is what will deliver samadhi. That is what will deliver my abidance and my constant ability to live in that meditative state. So this concept, which is described in Chandogya Upanishad there, Vakarambanam, Vikaro Namadheyam, see the Mritiketeva Satyam, see the truth of the substratum, and negate the superimposition, separate out that Nama Rupa. This concept is what's introduced in the 20th shloka, the next shloka after this Maya topic. And this group of shlokas, 20 to 22, sets the foundation for Samadhi, the topic that comes after, of how this vision can lead me into Samadhi. So this 20th shloka, so for those who have the text, page 68, this 20th shloka says now, Asti bhati priyam rupam, Asti bhati priyam rupam, Nama chetyam shapanchakam, Nama chetyam shapanchakam, Adyatrayam brahmarupam, Adyatrayam brahmarupam, Jagat rupam tato dvayam, Jagat rupam tato dvayam. अस्ति भाति प्रियं रूपं नाम चेत्यं शपञ्चकम् आद्यत्रयं ब्रह्मरूपं जगद्रूपं ततोद्वयम्. It says, Asti bhati priyam. Asti, it is, means existence aspect, it exists. Bhati, it shines. So that consciousness, jnana swarupa, by which things become known, the light of knowledge. Priyam, it is there. Ananda, Swarupa. So Asti Bhati Priya implies Satchit Ananda. Then Rupam, Namam. So Rupa, form, and Nama, name. So as we say name and form, Nama Rupa. Cha, so these five are spoken of now. Satchitananda and then Nama Rupa. These five iti amsha panchakam. They are panchakam, the five amshas, the five aspects of every entity within this creation. Anything in this creation will have these five, Satchitananda as its substratum and Nama Rupa. So we may say certain things may not have a Rupa. When we think Rupa is a form. So you say if a thought comes to my mind, there's no form in that. Or if I hear a sound, there's no physical form. Everything has a form in its own aspect. Means that we have the five jnana indriyas. And each of these has its own particular form. Sight may be the only one that has a physical form that's seen as something physically tangible. But sound also is its own form. That when I hear something, it takes the form of sound. That when I smell something, it takes the form of a scent. So each of these five have their own form. So don't get caught in that notion of form. Nama rupa, name and form means only a physical form. That is a physical form for eyes. But each one has their own form that each of the sense organs will take when they interact with their specific objects. Similarly, nama. Each of those forms will have a name I associate with it. So the form of a thought of an apple, the apple will have a name. Even a sound that I hear, I will associate with that sound a particular label. That is its name. So everything has nama rupa in its own particular way through these five sense organs. So everything in this creation has nama rupa and also has that Satchidananda aspect as its substratum. These two things we have to understand. Exactly what form a name means in the different ways, but also what the Satchit Ananda, Brahman aspect is. Sometimes there's a misconception that a rock is insentient, therefore it doesn't have Satchit Ananda. Everything has Brahman. The fact that that rock exists and can be known as existing means existence aspect is there in it. So that is the Brahman aspect in that thing. Everything has that sentient and insentient aspect inlaid into it in one way or another. And that's why I say this entire creation is alive, because it is Brahman, all of it has come from that substratum. So now we understand Amsha Panchakam. These five aspects are there in every single thing in this creation. The second line of the shloka says, Adya Trayam Brahma Rupam. Adya, the first Trayam, the first three means Asti Bhati Priyam. These first three Brahma Rupam. They are of the nature of the reality, Satchitananda. And Jagat Rupam Tatodvayam. That Tatadvayam, the latter two, Jagat Rupam. They are of the nature of the world. So there's that Jara aspect of Nama Rupa, and there's the sentient aspect also, Chetana of Adyatrayam, the first three, Asti Bhati Priya. Everything in this creation is made of these five. This is what the shloka is saying to us. And 22nd shloka tells us how to utilize this in the vision of what Uttalaka Muniji was explaining in Chandogya Upanishad. 22nd shloka says, so this is this group of shlokas, 20 to 22. 22 says, Upeksha Nama Rupe Dve. What the shloka there is saying to complete the thought, it's saying that now that you know these five aspects, be indifferent to the Nama Rupa, the name and form aspect of it, and become devoted to the truth, the Satchit Ananda substratum. And in this mode, practice meditation. This is what will deliver samadhi and mukti. So this is how it sets the foundation for samadhi topic, which will come after. This 22nd shloka says, Upeksha nama rupe dve, Upeksha nama rupe dve, Satchidananda tatparah, Satchidananda tatparah, Samadhim sarvada kuryat, Samadhim sarvada kuryat, हृदये वाथवा बहिः हृदये वाथवा बहिः उपेक्ष्य नामरूपे द्वे सच्चिदानन्दतत्परः समाधिं सर्वदा कुर्यात् हृदये वाथवा बहिः. So then upeksha, be indifferent from, drop that part of it. Nama rupe, name and form, dve, these two of them. And Satchidananda Tatparaha. Be devoted to that higher aspect within them. Satchit Ananda, that consciousness aspect. Samadhim Sarvada Kuryat. In this way, you practice that meditative vision. Hridaye, within, and Bahihi, outside also. So within as well as without, keep that vision of the substratum instead of the Nama Rupa. See, whatever is there, whether the five elements, space, air, fire, water, earth, animals, people, situations, everything, any of it, all of it, they all only differ in name and form. But what are they all made out from? Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji says in the Bhashya there in Chandogya, he says, Karanat, Karanam na anyat syat. That the effect is not different from the cause. And so even though Nama Rupa may vary, what they're made from, Karanam, the source of them, is not different from the Karyam, from the effect. And so this becomes the premise which delivers our Pratignya statement now, our main statement of proof that Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam. That by knowing one, all can become known. Mrittike Teva Satyam. By knowing that clay only, I can know all the different forms and shapes that it takes by knowing that one Brahman, Satchit Ananda. When I come to know that, every Nama Rupa becomes easily recognized and can no longer delude me. This is the meditative vision of the substratum, which is going to deliver all of these superimpositions into my palm itself. So this vision I can inculcate now in 6 different ways. So these are 6 different meditative practices that are now we're going into in the latter part of this text. These 6 meditative processes that this text goes on to reveal is going to show me how to separate out from these 5 aspects 3 from 2 and deliver that vision that can put me into samadhi while transacting or while closed eyes in my meditative state. Yes? This is the thought process of how it's progressing through these shlokas. Now, before we enter into these 6, we have to have an overview of samadhi itself, of these meditative processes. The first thing we need to understand is this word samadhi. So, samadhi itself has 3 meanings. Samadhi can be a method, the means by which I can go into that state of samadhi. So samadhi can be the means, samadhi can be the goal also. Because these 6 are not 6 different kinds of samadhis. We can't go into 6 different types of samadhi. These are 6 methods by which we can go into that state of samadhi. So each of these methods are labeled as 6 forms of samadhi also. So samadhi can be a means, a method. When I utilize these methods well, then that state of samadhi can also come. So samadhi becomes a state. Means I can transact in this world with my mind at a higher vision. That becomes a state of samadhi that I'm transacting in. It's called Sambragnata Samadhi. So second meaning of samadhi is that state. The ultimate meaning of samadhi, the third one, is Atma itself. That when I go into that abidance, that state of samadhi so deeply, and I connect to that substratum, and they say I'm in samadhi, I am samadhi now becomes a state of being that's beyond all states. Samadhi Atma. So these 3 different understandings of samadhi we need to have, because as we go forward through the process, I'll distinguish each one from the next and how they're linked into this living of a life in samadhi, which should be our goal. So these 6 forms of samadhi, which means the 6 means of samadhi, which we're going to explore now. These are all based in jnana abhyasa. Means shravanam, mananam, and nididhyasanam must come first. Shravana, manana, nididhyasa, purvakam, samadhi. These form the foundation, which will then lead to that state of samadhi. So there are other forms of samadhi, abhyasa, such as those practiced in Yoga Darshana also, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which do not require Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam specifically. Those in Viveka Churamani class are getting a double dose. I think Bhagwan is telling us that we need to do more samadhi abhyasa. This topic is coming in Wednesday class, Viveka Churamani, as well as Thursday class now, Drśya.
I was about to say that, Jyoti.
Yeah. So Vishwaji, Akhilama, everyone who's here who's in Viveka Churamani also. So we're really getting this samadhi stuck in our heads. So this topic of samadhi. So there's different means of entering into that samadhi. The Dvaita Vedantins, Jnana Abhyasa. We say we must have Shravanam. If we want to enter into samadhi, we have to understand what is this Brahman? What is my true state? That I am discovering, that I am communing within that state of samadhi. But there are other darshanas. Remember that state of samadhi is just a state where mind becomes very quiet and peaceful to the point where mind can drop. And so it means all I have to do is discipline my mind enough to reach to that state. So darshanas like Yoga Darshana, through Patanjali Yoga Sutras, elaborately they give techniques and disciplines by which you can attain to that state of what's called Jada Samadhi. In that state, mind becomes very quiet. But after I come out of that state, I go back to transacting in the world as normal. Means that's
Mhm.
samadhi without mukti. Mukti comes when I know my Brahmatva. And only Shastra can reveal that to me through Shravanam. So Shravanam becomes essential if I want mukti. And on the strength of such a potent understanding of the purports of that Shravanam, I'm so convinced by that knowledge that I begin to live it. I begin to exude it and abide in it. And so effortlessly that samadhi comes, that I am that. This is called moksha. The samadhi of yoga darshana is not achieved through that unfoldment of knowledge into understanding and then abidance. That comes through shravanam, mananam, reflecting on nididhyasnam, abiding in it. This type of samadhi of yoga darshana is via practices of discipline through which that mind is trained to go into samadhi. Means via meticulous process of Ashtanga yoga, those 8 phases, whereby disciplining my body first, yamas and niyamas, I bring this body into a state where I can withdraw those senses, where I can get that breath under control also, pranayama, pratyahara. I can learn to restrain this mind, dharana, and with body well controlled, then there's nothing to bring extra thoughts into my mind to distract me when I try to meditate. With breath under control and sense organs controlled also, no stimuli is there to distract my mind. Then, because of this yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, now dharana comes easily. That mind can now become easily restrained because the sense organs are not pulling it away. Because the body itself is not pulling it away with discomforts. That mind can become one pointed in dharana now, that meditative state. It can enter into dhyanam, Dharana, dhyana, samadhi. And then that samadhi, asampragnata samadhi, mind can now merge because it has become so quiet. So through just disciplining the body, disciplining the senses, and restraining the mind, I can enter into samadhi. This is what yoga darshana, this is how they teach. It's a very difficult process to discipline the body and the mind in this way. But samadhi can come. The only thing with this samadhi is when I go into that state and I come back out of it, then it was blissful when I am in it, but when I'm out of it, I'm back into the world. And I'm just as much a samsari as before. The difference with Shravana Manana Nididhyasana Purvaka Samadhi is that I don't only experience that blissful state, but I understand through Shravanam that bliss is me. So when I go into that state and I commune with that, I take it out with me also. And I transact with this world knowing that I am that bliss and I've taken that bliss with me. That the substratum of this world, that blissful substratum, is the same blissful substratum of me. And so if I fall down and I break my leg right after I get up from practicing my meditation, because my leg fell asleep, I was so unconscious of my body. Practicing that yoga darshana way of disciplining the mind, then when I come out of that samadhi and I break my leg, I think, oh my God, what has happened now? I have to take care of this. Whereas that Shravana Purvaka Samadhi of Advaita Vedanta, I know that leg is not me anymore. That bliss that I've experienced in that Samadhi, that is me. And so let me fix this leg because it's part of the equipment. But it doesn't bother me. It doesn't distract me and it doesn't take away my bliss. This is how those Jivan Muktas transact. So this is the difference in these 2 types of Samadhis. One Samadhi delivers a blissful state, but when I'm out of it, I'm back to being samsari. The second one delivers a bliss that I take with me. And so I am muktaha from all dukkha that can come. This distinction in Siddhanta we have to be clear on. One is a concentrated mind. Means all that yamas and niyamas, dharana, all of these things, which do not include Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, we can achieve through that discipline. But what happens? Chitta Vritti Nirodha. This is that endpoint that's given in those Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Chitta Vritti Nirodha. The Chitta Vrittis, the thoughts of my mind go into Nirodha. They are well controlled now, well restrained. So you are able to hold that mind in a very beautiful state of stillness. But Advaita Vedanta says go one step further. From Chitta Vritti Nirodha, from that restrained state, go to Chitta Nishedha. Negate that mind altogether. It says you see that serene mind, now you throw that also. Even that mind is not me. And anything that affects that mind is not me either. So one further step happens in Advaita Vedanta Samadhi, in that practice. Not just a concentrated mind or a restrained mind, but a negated mind. A restrained mind can give me a very pleasant life, but a negated mind liberates me from that mind altogether. And mind is what brings all the sources of dukkha into my life. So in this way, I live in a state of atyantika dukkha nivritti. No dukkham can affect me. So this is the distinction. Unless that samadhi is based first in shravanam and mananam, then it is just an experience, but it is not enlightenment. Experiencing bliss is very nice, but when I understand that I am that bliss, this is called enlightenment. So Samadhi of Yoga Darshana delivers a beautiful state. Samadhi of Advaita Vedanta is meant to lead you to mukti. This is the difference. Don't get stuck in that samadhi. That samadhi must deliver mukti. That's the end goal. When I come to understand that that bliss of me is that same bliss which is the substratum externally now of the entire creation. And every name and form is just a manifestation of that same bliss that is me, then that gives the power to liberate. So this is the clarity that we need to see between these points. So I spent some time explaining difference in these two forms of samadhi. Even Puja Guruji in the commentary here very beautifully elaborate on the distinct forms of samadhi that there can be in different darshanas also, and why we shouldn't get caught in one and continue along our darshana, which takes us past it to the next stage also of mukti. So we'll read a bit from Puja Guruji's commentary. It brings out a lot of very nice points, extra points also. So for those who have the text, page 77, after that 22nd shloka, which we just read. Um, who has text? Just raise your hand so I can see who I can call on for reading. Okay, good. So we'll start with Kanta Amma then. I'll just go in order of how I'm seeing. So Amma, you can read that first paragraph now, page 77, after the translation. In our everyday parlance, the word samadhi has various meanings.
In our everyday parlance, we sometimes equate death with samadhi. When a realized master dies, we say he has attained Mahasamadhi. When a saint dies by voluntarily immersing himself in water, it is not called suicide, but Jala Samadhi. We hear of yogis devoid of knowledge who go into samadhi for months and years, but such a state cannot be maintained indefinitely. They eventually come out of it, and all previous tendencies spring back to life when they come in contact with the world. This state is called Jada Samadhi. It is not what is referred here as Samadhi. Continue.
No, one paragraph each. Thank you, Amma. So this is not what is referred here as samadhi. So Guruji is making all of these distinctions now. Be clear which type of samadhi we are aiming for. So if these are not samadhi, then what is samadhi by Advaita Vedanta? So Anitama, you can read next. Anitama.
Then what is samadhi? That substratum into which the entire world merges is called samadhi. Hence, samadhi is the name of Atman, self, or Brahman, reality. Moreover, one who is well rooted in Brahman is said to be in samadhi. By sincere and consistent practice of merging in Brahman, this state of complete absorption is attained. Hence, the practice of meditation, dhyana, or nididhyasana is also called samadhi.
So these are, remember I said samadhi has three definitions. So two of the definitions Puja Guruji points to here. That practice of meditation, dhyana, nididhyasanam, where it's a state of complete absorption. So two things. First, in the first line, he says the substratum into which the entire world merges is called Samadhi. Hence, Samadhi is Atma itself. This is the ultimate meaning of Samadhi. It's a state of being, a state of, I know that I am Atma. That's one. Second one, Puja Guruji speaks about a practice of meditation, a practice of dhyana. This is also called Samadhi. So this is a practice, a means that can take me. So the second one is the means to take me to the first one, Atma. And this second one is what we're going to discover in the next few shlokas of this chapter. They give 6 practices, 6 ways of doing this. So these are the 2 distinctions of Samadhi. And third one I had mentioned before also. Now we can go forth more. Akila Amma and Uncle, you all want to read one paragraph?
Samadhi is not a state of consciousness like the waking, dream, and deep sleep. The experiences of these states are exclusive of each other. One cannot be awake and in deep sleep at the same time. Brahman is eternal and exists in all these states of experience. Samadhi, which is abidance in Brahman, is therefore eternal and not experienced alternatively like the other states. It is called the fourth state only to distinguish it from the other three.
So a very nice point is brought out here. These 3 states, waking, dream, and deep sleep, cannot happen together. You can't be waking while you're dreaming. You can't be in deep sleep while you're awake. But Samadhi, Turiya, is called the fourth, not as a separate state, but as the one that has anvaya through all 3. So this point Puja Guruji is making here, very important point, that Samadhi can happen while the others are happening. I cannot be in waking and deep sleep at the same time, but I can be in Samadhi and waking at the same time. It's not a separate avastha. While I'm waking, while I am transacting, I should be in Samadhi. That's called Sampragnata Samadhi. That I must live in a meditative state. This is how Puja Guruji says, Gurudev says, how long should you meditate? 24/7. Your mind should be in that vision of Samadhi. This is the distinction again with Yoga Darshana. Yoga Darshana Samadhi is a Jada Samadhi. When I sit and mind disappears. In Advaita Vedanta, they say live in Samadhi. Even while you're awake and you're transacting, keep your mind at that level. This is true liberation. It means if liberation only comes when I sit, and then when I'm out in the world, that's not Samadhi, then that's not liberation. It means my liberation goes away and I go back into bandha, into bondage when I'm transacting. It's not liberation. So our Samadhi should be a state of living in
again with
mukti.
Yoga Darshana. Yoga Darshana Samadhi is a Jada Samadhi. When I sit and
Is anyone hearing that echo coming back?
in Advaita
Okay.
Vedanta, they say live in Samadhi. Even while you're awake and you're
Someone needs to mute. Okay, it worked, whatever it was. Okay, good. So Bhagwan wanted you all to hear that point again for some reason. Me also. Okay, so live in Samadhi. This is the main point. We have to live in that state of Samadhi. And that's why that Turiya, that fourth, has Anvaya through all 3. This is our main form, that I must not only be liberated when I close my eyes, but I must be liberated always. Nitya Mukta, Jivan Mukta, while living itself. That state has to come. So Puja Guruji brings this point here, that it's the fourth. It's distinct from the others because it's not distinct from the others. It's there in all 3, unlike the other states. Next paragraph, Nagarajan uncle.
Action can procure a thing ungained. We have to climb a mountain to reach its peak. Knowledge makes us realize the thing gained. For instance, not knowing that my necklace hangs around my own neck, I search for it elsewhere. On knowing its location, I realize that I have it with me, that I always had it, and it was never lost. Samadhi cannot be achieved by action, but by knowledge. Knowledge makes us realize our own nature as immaculate, eternal, ever liberated consciousness. Presently, our experience of the self is limited by our thoughts. Thoughts are superimposition of name and form. In Samadhi, the limitations of thoughts are transcended.
So the point being made here, Upeksha nama rupe dve, as I said in the shloka just before. Give up that nama rupa, both of these, and focus on the substratum. Thoughts are superimposition of name and form. So in samadhi, when I transcend thoughts, I transcend that name and form. Upeksha nama rupe dve. So this, now we're getting into what actual samadhi is. Next paragraph. Manasiyamma, you have the text?
Yes, I do. In the waking and the dream states, we experience, I know this. In the deep sleep, we experience, I know nothing. Samadhi is not experienced as a thought either of knowing or not knowing. It is the abidance of in pure consciousness that illuminates these thoughts. Samadhi, therefore, does not depend upon the appearance or disappearance of thoughts, since the world of names and forms is experienced by everyone as thoughts only. One in Samadhi remains undisturbed by the world.
So key point is made here. And Puja Guruji says, Samadhi therefore does not depend upon the appearance or disappearance of thoughts. Means my thoughts don't have to disappear for it to qualify as me being in Samadhi. The world doesn't have to disappear for it to qualify as me being in Samadhi. So this is one main erroneous notion that tends to be there for some. That if that whole world doesn't disappear, I am not in samadhi. So these different types of samadhi now we're looking at, the different means for entering into that. It says, since the world of names and forms is experienced by everyone as thoughts only, one in samadhi remains undisturbed by the world, because one in samadhi remains undisturbed by thoughts, because one in samadhi remains undisturbed by name and form, because one in samadhi has done upeksha nama rupe dve. So the main point is that the entire world takes the form of thoughts, of nama rupa. And as long as I can negate that name and form and stay focused on the substratum, I will be undisturbed by that world. Samadhi is in being undisturbed by the world, not in making the world disappear. So open eye samadhi. This is a key point. This is one erroneous notion Puja Guruji is making sure we get rid of at this point. Yeah? Okay. Next. Nival, do you have the text?
I do.
Okay, good. So you can read next paragraph.
Samadhi is not a verb, it's a noun. One cannot do samadhi, one can only be in samadhi. Samadhi is the alert, steady, and poised state of mind abiding in its true nature. Assuming a pose or posture does not guarantee this poise. One can only be alert to be alert. This attentiveness can be maintained irrespective of the activity one undertakes, the emotions one feels, or the thoughts one entertains. Hence, it is said that meditation should be practiced at all times.
Good. So this is main point. Meditation needs to be practiced, as Puja Gurudev said, 24/7. The attentiveness can be maintained irrespective of the activities one undertakes. Your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts, these are not meant to distract from your samadhi abhyasa. Meditation, samadhi should be happening 24/7. So this is the type of samadhi that this text is teaching us. It will go into that Sambragnata Samadhi also, where mind disappears, world disappears, and so on. That is one of the forms also. But more importantly is this form of samadhi actually. Live in that open eye samadhi, live in that state, that vision of samadhi. So I'll just finish up the last part of it. Puja Guruji says here, in true samadhi, one does not experience something new or out of this world, such as flashes of light or sounds of conch shells and so on. In yoga, darshan and so on, when they do these practices, siddhis do come. Some happenstances like this can happen. This is not the main point of samadhi. This is what distinguishes us from yoga darshan. So similarly, we spoke about this last night in Viveka Churamani also. Raghuji had mentioned there. So these siddhis and so on can come. This is where we need to know which is our line that we are practicing along, which darshana do we follow. Are we going to get caught up in siddhis and all of these flashes of light and conch shells? And yes, now I am in samadhi. Is that what we want? Then you are on a different darshana. Or do you want to live in a state of bliss, which is mukti? Then this is Advaita Vedanta. So know which one you want and then practice along that path, whichever one. Eventually, they will all lead to the same goal. But be clear on your darshana and be clear on your siddhanta, because that way you can follow one step after the next and reach the goal instead of getting confused on different paths. So it says the practice of samadhi, Puja Guruji goes on, it can be within or without. The practice within is done with reference to the individual on inquiring, who am I? And discriminating between the seer and the seen, one realizes the self, which is of the nature of pure consciousness. The practice outside, is done with reference to the world perceived. On inquiring what is this world and discriminating between the world and its substratum, one realizes the self to be the absolute reality. Closed eye and opened eye meditation is also sometimes referred to as meditation within and without. So hridaya and bahihi, within and without, respectively. Whatever be the locus of meditation, withdrawing the attention from names and forms and fixing it on the truth is meditation. This is our definition of meditation, which we are going to work with for the next 23 to 30, that group of shlokas where meditation, samadhi topic is spoken about. That whatever be the locus of meditation, withdrawing attention from names and forms, upeksha nama rupe dve, and fixing it on the truth, satchidananda tatpara. This is meditation. Whatever the locus, whether inside or outside, antar or bahihi. And this is what I want us to focus on. This is open eye meditation. Out of these 6 forms of meditation that are shown in this chapter, 4 out of the 6 is this open eye meditation. This is the main, all of us want to sit and close our eyes and go into that meditative state. That will come no matter what. If you practice this one well, and you can open your eyes and transact in a meditative state in the world, that other one will come naturally, so easily when you close your eyes. And for those of you who have been waiting for this section of the text to come and think, we're going to get meditation classes now. Jyoti is going to tell us, sit down, close your eyes, we're going to meditate. That is not going to happen. I'm telling you all that from now. That close your eyes, that will come naturally when you learn these first 4 techniques of Sambragnata Samadhi, of opening your eyes, separating out name and form from Satchitananda, and being able to actually abide in that state while I'm in this world. That is real samadhi. That is what will make me a better person when I transact with this world around me. That is what will make me a better husband, wife, mother, father, child, sadhaka. That is what will actually make that change. When those things start to come, that purity, that chitta shuddhi, that sattva comes up in me, naturally, asampragnata samadhi comes. Naturally, when that mind becomes quiet, it drops. Nirvikalpa samadhi will come on its own effort. I can't teach you that, actually. So everybody who wants to sit and have classes of let's sit and close our eyes and will we go into nirvikalpa samadhi, a teacher cannot teach you that. That comes on the strength of punya. Again, Viveka Churamani class we spoke about is 3 things from Panchadashi that predisposes me to that nirvikalpa samadhi, where I can go into that state. That will come on the strength of purva janma punya. But the effort I have to make now, which is where my effort as a sadhaka needs to come, is in these first 4 forms of samadhi, where antar and bahihi, inside and outside, upeksha nama rupe dve, satchidananda tatparaha. So this is what we will be learning as we go forward. Now, yes, someone just sent a question. Let me just read here. So something from Guruji, I think. Silence forever. This is meditation. Contemplation is a verb and meditation is a noun. So that will come. Yes. So that came already. Swami Tejamaya Nandaji shares the effortless contemplation is meditation. We have to put in maximum efforts to feel the effortless. Ah, very nice. Who sent this? Very nice way of phrasing it. Samadhi also refers to samadhana, to be focused. So that's the first step. So that samadhana will lead into that samadhi. Only those who are absorbed in their responsibilities will be able to exert maximum efforts to get that samadhi. Ah, very nice. So who shared this one? I'm trying to, Vishwaji. Thank you, Vishwaji. It's very nice how he put it in that way. So do your dharma, and in performing your activities, do it with this vision now. And this is how we will transcend and go from open eye meditation to closed eye meditation to absolute nirvikalpa samadhi. So this is our progress.
Jyotiji, I
Ji,
want
Satyanji has a question. Satyanji, if
Yeah,
you could.
let's let Gita Ma share. She was going to say first, and then Satyanji will take your question after. Yes, Amma?
I just wanted to share with you, when Guruji was a student and Gurudev was teaching the Vivek Chudamani. At that time, some devotee came and said, I need to talk to Gurudev. And he came there and he sat in the class and he started talking so many different things. I have a question, but he never came to the question. After 10 minutes, he left. I'm late for the plane. And so all the students were very upset and they asked Gurudev, how can you tolerate that person? So Gurudev said, you think I was listening to his talking? I was concentrating on his awareness.
See, so this is the example.
That's, so I thought I will just share it with you.
So nice example. See, Puja Gurudev did Upeksha Nama Rupe Dve. Forget him. All the things he's saying, all different forms that sound is taking, coming. Forget that. What is his Satchidananda? That Tat Paraha. Remain fixed. This is embodiment. Puja Gurudev himself, who said 24/7 Samadhi. So this is how. It's a good example of exactly how that comes. Satyanji, you had a question?
Yeah, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
So I have a question on the last para on page 78, where it says, not having the mind is the samadhi, is what you said, right? Completely drop the mind and let go of the mind. So my question is related to that. So yes, I understand, not having thoughts. That is what you had interpreted, right, Jyotiji? You had said that not having thoughts or the disappearance of thoughts is true samadhi. Now, when we take...
No.
Yes,
No.
Samadhi therefore does not depend upon appearance or disappearance of thoughts. Correct?
Yeah. So Samadhi can be there with thoughts or can be there without thoughts. Both. Yeah, that's what it means.
Yes. Okay. So you are saying Samadhi can be with thoughts also, right?
Correct.
Okay, then you answered my question.
Yeah. So this is what these 6 techniques of Samadhi, which are about to be taught, they're showing 4 of Samadhi with thought and 2 of Samadhi without thought. That's the 6. So not what I say. This is what the masters have taught us. There are these ones existing, Samadhi with thought, Samadhi without thought. So now Vidyaranya Swamiji is elaborating what these are and how we can practice them through these 6 methods, which is the culminating part of this text. So as we go forward in next week's class, we'll see what is this Samadhi with thought, which is called Sampragnata Samadhi, where thinking and logic is used while I'm aware. And then what is this Asampragnata Samadhi, where thoughts drop also. So both are there. Good.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Jyoti just had a question. I think this is continuation from yesterday's topic. Probably Raghuji, we were running out of time. Raghuji mentioned at the end that meditation is not nididhyasana. I was about to even email this. Can we say that meditation is the vehicle which takes you to the state of nididhyasana? If meditation is not, I know it's aham brahmasmi is a state of nididhyasana, but still the meditation as a vehicle is required to get to that state. Probably Raghuji can also clarify it. I couldn't ask him yesterday or email him. I thought it will be good if you both can share your thoughts.
Sure.
Jyotiji will take over.
I was about to say it is Raghuji's famous line in Viveka. Jyotiji will answer.
From yesterday
that kept on going into will take this one.
No, from yesterday it kept coming into my mind. I wanted to ask him, but I thought this is a good time. Everybody is there, so
Okay, so I'll give some ideas and Raghuji can share his ideas also. So it depends on how you define meditation. That's first thing. This is why I like to place emphasis on let's use Sanskritam words if we have. So meditation itself can mean dhyanam, it can mean nididhyasanam, it can mean samadhi. Meditation can take so many different forms. So, but if I understand your question correctly, Vishwaji, you're speaking of that a basic meditation. It means when you sit and you make mind quiet, close your eyes, that sort of meditation. So that is usually associated with dhyanam. Means like in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, when you go through yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, in that state of dharana, now when mind starts to become focused, it goes into dhyana, a meditative, quiet state. So that's usually what most people refer to when they say meditation. So that form of meditation, yeah, dhyanam, which is a concentration on a one-pointedness of the mind, a meditative state that comes on the strength of disciplining the mind and senses, definitely yes, that is a necessary prerequisite to being able to do nididhyasanam. So in that way, yes, Vishwaji, you can practice that up to that point. And even Advaita Vedanta, that doesn't solely belong to Patanjali Yoga. Advaita Vedanta also has yamas and niyamas and talks about controlling the breath and all this. Vayurodhana lina manasam, Ramana Maharishi says in Upadeshasara, right? So those concepts of breath control, pranayama, all of those things are in Advaita Vedanta also. So we follow those and it helps to physically control breath, senses, mind, all of these things. And now that well-controlled pramata becomes a perfect field on which to plant that seed of Shravanam. And so from there, when I do Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, those can take root on the fertile field of that pramata that has been prepared with that kind of dhyanam. So in that way, meditation of that way can provide a nice foundation on which to do Shravanam and take it forward. So that form of meditation, dhyanam, can lead me to the meditation of nididhyasanam much more efficiently, which will lead me to the meditation of samadhi much more fruitfully. Yes?
Sure. So it is like a cyclic process. It has to clear out the impurities, and it has to be a cyclic process. So
I say more stepwise than cyclic, yes.
So samadhi is not nididhyasanam, is it? Like, I was also thinking once you get to that state where you nama japa and you say I am this Atman. Obviously, that is a state of samadhi, right?
Yes. So that is samadhi also. That is Sampragnata Samadhi. Okay, let me let Raghuji share.
Vishwa, see, just like Jyoti ji was explaining, the word samadhi is used for three different things. One is for the practice of the meditation. And then the second one is the state of reaching final state of complete quiet mind, abiding in that Atman. And the third one is the name that for Atman himself. Atman itself is called Samadhi. And so most of what we are doing as a practitioners is a verb. Samadhi means we are practicing. But like Guruji said in his commentary, Samadhi is a noun. That means it is a state of being. That is reaching the state Aham Brahmasmi, that you not keep on repeating the name like Hare Rama, but you are aware that you are that Brahman. Okay. And so even when you are doing work, that you are in the state aware that you are Brahman. So that is the real state of karma sannyasa or naishkarmya. In that you are in the state of Brahman. I am Brahman. I am not doing the action. The body, mind, and the intellect are interacting with the world, but I am just the witness. So that is practicing meditation 24/7. That is the real naishkarmya. And that is the real state of karma sannyasa or the sattvic karma. In that you are doing the actions, but you know that the body, mind, and the intellect are doing it, but I am not the doer. I hope I explained it.
Sure, Raghuji. Hari Om.
Raghuji, can you just repeat the last sentence you said? Body, mind, and intellect are
interacting with the world, but I, the Atman, I'm independent. I'm just a witness.
okay. That is the Brantijanya Tadatmya. Removing that, correct?
Yeah, removing that, yes.
Removing that, yes.
Yeah. Removing the Brantijanya Tadatmya, right.
Thank you, Raghuji. Okay, so I think as we go forward and we explore this topic of Samadhi more in next class, a lot more clarity will come on some of these questions also. So join us again next week. So we will conclude here. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Hari Om, everyone.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, everyone. Hari Om, everyone. Hari Om, Raghuji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, everyone.
Hari Om.